Hi, my name is Jan Prelaznik and this is a short demo of Do Workflow Tests. It's a tool which allows you to create tests for Do Workflow in a way that anyone else can run these tests on their setup without the need to do any real requests to GitLab Rails instance. Currently, Duo Workflow supports only one scenario, which is fix a failing merge request in a project. And to create tests for this, we define some examples in this repository, and I will show you how to add more tests and how to run these tests later. So to add a new test, you can use a create example script. This script will do all the necessary logic for you. For example, if you come across any match request where there was a failing pipeline and you want to test how Duo Workflow would fix this failing pipeline for you, then you can add this example to the set of tests by running this create example script. You point it to the project and to the pipeline which was failing and to the pipeline which passed, and you pass also match request EID. What this script does is that it stores the status of the code base for the failing pipeline, so we can later test Duo Workflow in the status when it was failing. The reason is that it's not sufficient to only clone the match request, because match request is usually fixed later in the next commit, and this test would be just temporary. So if we want to rerun Duo Workflow on predefined tests, we need to save the status of the match request when it was failing. So this script clones the repository, it creates a branch for this repository for the failing code, and also it stores the expected fix. Expected fix is the commit done for the passing pipeline. So if I run this script, we can see that it adds this repository as a submodule to this project, and it creates a metadata directory for the repository, and it also creates this new branch in the repository. This new branch contains the code which was failing for this pipeline. If we look at the metadata directory, it contains stubs directory where we will store all recorded responses which Duo Workflow does to GitLab server. It also contains the input data, which are then uploaded to Langsmith database, and it contains a diff file which contains expected fix for the goal. There is also already recorded request for match request pipelines, The reason for this is that if we ask do workflow to fix a failing match request, it just fetches the last pipeline for the match request and checks if it failed and what was failing. But the problem is that if we request the last pipeline later, it will fetch a newer pipeline, not the one which was failing. So here we stop the request for getting the pipelines to return the pipeline which was failing. When we have this new example added to the repository, we can run another script for adding for uploading this new test to the Langsmith dataset. So we run the update dataset script. And we can and this script checks what examples are defined locally and what examples are defined in the Langsmith database, and if there is any change, it just updates the script in the example defined in the database. For example, if we would change this example with a new pipeline, with a new line, we can see that, yeah, there was a diff, so it updated this example. So you can see that now all examples are defined in the Langsmith database, and basically adding new tests is needed only when you are extending the set of existing tests. But anyone can always just rerun these tests locally and see how Duo Workflow performs for him without the need to actually add these tests. One additional step for adding the test I forgot is to actually record responses from GitLab. This is done by running tests with special variable record GitLab requests. Also know that memsaver variable is used. The reason when this memsaver is used, we use just memsaver for storing checkpoints instead of storing them in GitLab. The reason for this is that it would be difficult to step any workflow requests because IDs change there. So now let's record these GitLab requests for the newly added test. We can also use the test path filter variable, which will run only tests which match this string. So we can use match request ID, and we need to use a valid GitLab credentials because we need to record the correct responses. I think I used, oops. Coffee token API. So now we are running the tests, and we also store the GitLab responses into the stub directory. So when the test run finishes, we can check the content of the stubs directory, and we can see that we have now stubs for the GitLab requests done during this test. So we can add this new example or wall repository as submodule to this repository, and there are some changes done here. Yeah, it just switched to the testing branch. Okay, so now we have new test edit, and we can also now run all the tests which are already in the repository. To do this, we can just run the test again in similar way as when recording the stubbed responses, but in this way we need to make sure that we mount the workflow tests directory same as before. This is same, but we don't need to pass valid GitLab credentials because no real GitLab request should be used. Only stubbed requests should be used now, and we still use the memsaver. So let's run the script. What it does is that it fetches these examples again from the longsmith and runs them in parallel. So when the test run finishes, it stores results into the results file. We can quickly check what was recorded. Actually, it probably failed in this case because we see that the patch field is empty, which means that no real changes were done. So after rerunning the tests again, we can see that some of them timed out, but this time we can see that there were actually fixes for these examples. Let's take a look at how running tests works. These tests run inside a Docker container. This Docker container runs both the Duo workflow service and Duo workflow executor, and this, so it's isolated from your environment. The only directory which is mounted is directory with this repository, and results are stored inside this directory, and also it contains a directory with working directories for each of the example. Because all examples run in parallel, we need to create a copy for each repository for each test. So if we look at the last run, we can see that we created 4 copies of CLI repository, each for each example, and these are directory in which actually Duo Executor works for each example. So in each of them you can actually investigate or check the real changes. We can see that, for example, for CLI it made the following fix. So as I said, results are stored in this JSON-L file, and the next steps will be to upload this file into Longsmith dataset and evaluate it.